Welcome back to The Explainer. So, let's just jump right in today, because we're tackling something literally every single one of us struggles with. I'm talking about navigating the confusing, murky, moral gray areas of modern life. And look, I'm not talking about those grand world-saving dilemmas you see in movies. I mean the mundane, everyday choices that suddenly leave you totally paralyzed, staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering if you're actually a good person.
I mean, really think about this for a second. Have you ever faced a decision where every single option just felt a little bit wrong? Maybe it's deciding whether or not to correct a coworker who took credit for a minor idea of yours. Or, hey, figuring out if you should tell a friend a really harsh truth. Something that might sting now, but saves them from future embarrassment. These sticky little situations, they don't exactly come with an instruction manual. And that's exactly why we desperately need a practical solution we can actually use in the moment.
Because let's face it, there's a huge disconnect between abstract philosophy and our everyday reality. Our source material points out frameworks like Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative, which is basically this idea that you should only act according to rules that could become universal laws. And sure, it's brilliant, but come on, it is heavy. Are you realistically going to consult Kant when you're just trying to decide if you should tell your boss a tiny white lie about why you were 5 minutes late? Probably not, right? Traditional ethics are just way too abstract for daily on-the-fly use. We need a framework that validates our confusion and just gives us a clear path forward. And that brings us to the absolute core of today's explainer: simple ethics. According to our source material, this isn't about lofty, head-in-the-clouds theories. It's actually a highly granular checklist of 14 specific, practical questions. Think of it like the ultimate diagnostic tool for your conscience. It completely bypasses all that dense theoretical philosophy and gives you a grounded, actionable checklist you can rely on whenever you're lost in a moral maze. To make this super easy to digest, we're going to break these 14 questions down into 3 distinct buckets.
First up is Section 1, Looking Inward, specifically ego and guilt.
So before we look at anyone else, we actually have to turn the lens inward and brutally, honestly examine our own deepest motivations. Let these questions really sink in for a moment. First, am I trying to satisfy my own needs, physical, safety, or esteem? Next, am I motivated by ego, pride, or need for control? Third, would I feel guilty or bad about myself afterward? And finally, what is my payoff? Man, that last one is a real gut punch, isn't it? Our source emphasizes that our ego often tries to fill our needs in ways that secretly hijack our choices. If your hidden payoff is just to make yourself look good or feel superior, well, this checklist immediately red flags it. Now, for a quick mental reset, the source's concept of natural ethics drops this incredible, punchy takeaway on us. Ethics is just doing good by helping others. It really is that simple at its core. Filling human needs is good, withholding what fills those needs is harmful. It's such a fantastic anchor, because if your inward check reveals you're literally only helping yourself, you're already straying from this fundamental truth. Which leads us to Section 2, Looking Outward. This is all about real-world impact.
All right, we've looked inside. Now we apply the outward lens to measure how our choices actually hit the people, the institutions, and the society around us. We start with the basics here. Does it break any laws or rules? Would there be negative consequences if discovered? Would anyone find it unfair, hurtful, or unpleasant? But honestly, the heaviest question here is that last one. Would I keep it secret from my partner, family, or friends? The source makes a brilliant point here. Excluding normal, everyday matters of privacy, hiding an action from a loved one is a massive red flag. Secrecy is basically the dark room where unethical choices thrive. If you feel like you have to hide it, let's be real, you kind of already know the answer. Sticking with our outward look, we hit 3 more absolutely crucial checks. Is it something I would not want someone to do to me? Does it do the greatest good for everyone concerned? And am I obligated to do or not do some specific action? You're probably recognizing the foundation of that first check, right? It ties directly back to the classic golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Practical ethics relies so heavily on this basic, everyday empathy. If you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of your own decision, well, it absolutely fails the checklist. Finally, we arrive at Section 3, the big picture, virtues and the world.
So, we've looked inward at our ego. We've looked outward at our immediate impact. And now? Now we take a huge step back to look at the broader, long-term impact on our character and the planet itself. Would a virtuous person do it? And does it make the world better? Up until now, the checklist has mostly helped us avoid doing harm or being selfish. But these 2 questions, they push us to be proactive.
True ethics isn't just about not being the bad guy. It's about actively taking steps to improve the world, even in the absolute smallest, most localized ways.
And that brings us to the 14th and final question on the Simple Ethics checklist. What is the next right thing? I just want you to pause and really take that in. When a situation is incredibly complex, when the gray area is so dense you literally cannot see the end of the road, you don't actually need to have the whole journey figured out. Ethics often just requires taking one small, correct step forward. Just do the next right thing. Honestly, it's incredibly reassuring.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I'm turning this whole toolkit directly back on you. What moral gray area are you currently facing? And how are you going to apply the Simple Ethics checklist to solve it today? Let's not just leave this as theory, okay? Take these 14 questions, look inward at your ego, look outward at your impact, and ask yourself how you can make the world just a tiny bit better. Find your next right thing and go do it.